Okay, we're really kind of dragging it out on this fender situation. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm trying to show you, the viewer, the guy that's watching this, that when you restore these old cars and you try to get them into the magnitude of restoring them better than they were, or at least getting them to the restoration point of where they were when they came to from the factory, it's a very, very, very time-consuming operation, especially with a car like our Oldsmobile Cutless that was supposed to be paint ready, this, that, and the other. We already know all that, but it's a situation that if you want to do something right, you've got to take your time and do it. Whether you're getting mad, whether you're happy, whether you're pissed off, hollering, screaming, it doesn't matter. It's got to be done right. And if you aren't fucking going to do it right, you need to walk away from it and let it go. So if we look right here, this is the passenger fender, and we got that body line pretty good. We got it on there good. Everything fits. I like the way that the lower line is on the rocker panel all the way up around the door. And I like the way that this fender finally went on there. We had to do a little manipulation. We found out this fender was wrecked, of course. We already know that up here. And then over here, all right, which we'll be fixing all that. We're not leaving it that way. But we got our gap looking good. You can see that. And we also got our gap looking good this way. Now, we're going to have to do some body work to that on the door skin itself. And there's going to be some body work in this area down here as well. I don't like this situation here. And I didn't get a picture of that to show you at the junkyard. I should have took a picture of it or something, but I didn't even bring my camera with me when I went back out there, and I'm going to show you why I went back out there. But the original door did not come down like this into a square. The original door was round, kind of like I was explaining over there on the left-hand side. So we're going to have to manipulate this and do what we got to do to fix that, to give it that factory look that fits in that groove right there, and that's going to have to be done on both doors. So I'm the type of guy, I'm kind of like to do stuff to people's cars. When I work on cars, I'm not just working on a car. To me, I'm working on something that is really close to my heart, and when I say that, I'm talking about my pride and my reputation. When this car gets done, it's going to go out on the road. Somebody's going to drive it, somebody's going to own it, and a lot of people are going to see it. And I am putting my name on this car. And that's the problem you have when you run into these fucking flim-flam shops that rip you off and treat you like a nobody. And that's why I take my time and do whatever I got to do to get the fucking thing the best possible way that I can get it out of my shop. Everything's lining up down there. I wonder if I got that lined up over there on that fender. Where's my fucking flashlight now? Okay, I was looking on that inside of that other fender because there's actually a little bracket that goes on the back side of the core support, and yeah, so we got to get that one on the back side, but I think it'll be all right because it's a flimsy bracket, and what that does, that helps hold the core support around the headlights. But let's get this bolted on and Let's see what's going to happen. Okay, we got the 2 front bolts on here. There's actually a 3rd bolt that goes here. We're not going to put that on. Let's go ahead and concentrate on the back of that fender. Alright, we went ahead and changed our socket over to a 9/16. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and look at that fender, and I'm looking at it and it's not really looking good. Let's get it down in here where it goes. I like that. The body line's looking really good here. This fender here, I gotta say, even though it's got this little situation going up here, this fender here is really fitting in here a lot nicer. Let's go ahead and get our shims back. I had some shims on that. We're gonna go ahead and put that up in here like we had it. And of course, that's gonna be moved forward as well. And this is where it comes in handy to have a 3rd hand or a fucking helper. When you're doing this shit, see? This is where it really helps out. And I'm hoping and praying that our buddy Nitpick Norm gets his ass over here so he can help us finish this shit. Okay, the next thing we got to do is pull this fender that way toward the door. But before we do that, we've got to get our bolt in the door with our shims. So on the other fender, I had 2 shims on there. We're going to go ahead and see if that's going to work with this fender. But before we put the shims in there, we got to get this bolt in there just like this. And then once we get ready to start tightening that up, we'll go ahead and put our shims in here. I'm thinking that it might need more than 2 shims by the time we're done, because every fender, believe it or not, every fender fits on differently. So we might get lucky, but we don't know. All right, do you remember when I said it's always good to have a 3rd hand, and when you're by yourself, you got to really, you know, think of where that 3rd hand could come from, because that 3rd hand is always handy to have? Well, in this situation, this is going to be our 3rd hand. Now what this is a motorcycle strap or a tie-down strap, whatever you want to fucking call it. And we're going to go ahead and hook the front of the core support. We're going to find a spot that we can hook on to the body, and then what we'll do is we'll pull the core support and the fender toward the door. Once we get it lined up, we'll go ahead and tighten that bolt down inside the door. I went ahead and hooked it on right here. The bumper stopper for the hood came up here, and I'm going to hook it right here on the cowling. And then that way what will happen, it will pull the fender toward the door and hopefully get our gap that we need and the alignment that is so crucial on doing this fucking job. So I'm looking at our gap here, and you know what, that actually looks, no it doesn't look good right there, okay. That looks good right there, just like that. Let me go ahead, I'm just going to tighten this up just a little bit. We're going to go ahead and start ratcheting our core support slash fender toward the body of the car. And you might not be able to see it move, but it's actually moving it forward, because these fenders, all these 3 or 4 bolts that are holding this on, actually hold the core support on the vehicle. It all ties in together and makes one. So we're going to go right there, and the gap is looking pretty good. Kind of tight down on the bottom, but I like this gap here. Now, we're going to have to raise that fender up, because we want that nice flush gap here. You see what I'm saying? So once again, since I'm by myself, I'm going to take my pen, I'm going to kind of get that where I want it, and then I'll put a mark right here on the, yeah, that, and that's going to tell me the height that I need. But that's actually looking pretty good. Can't really ask for more than that. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold these right here just like that. And I actually have another one. It looks like on this fender it's going to have to come out just a little farther. So I'm going to put these 3 shims where they go on top of that bolt. And then as I'm holding them, I'm going to take my air ratchet and get that baby snug on there where I want it. And now we can go ahead and get it where we need it, where our body line is, right there. And then tighten that baby down. Now I'm thinking I'm going to have to shim that out some more. It looked like it pulled it in pretty far. Actually, not really. That gap's pretty nice. Yeah, we're going to have to pull the fender out, so what I need to do is add another fucking shim to it. What a joke. Fucking joke. But I like the way it fits right here. That's the main point. I'm following my body lines. You see what I'm doing here? Following the fucking line. I want this line to match up. I want this body line to come around here. Alright, I don't care about that door right now. We'll get that later. Because I know I got a problem here. Even on this, using this fender, we're going to have a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to loosen that up just a hair. Looks like the gap's just a little bit big. I'm going to go ahead and tighten my fender up with my strap. There you go, I heard it pop. And then, let me see what that does. Alright, now let's look at our gap now. And that looks 100% better. And it even looks good right here, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten these bolts here up on the top. Just like that. And I'll come inside and do this one. And now that we got that done, we go up on the bottom, get a pry bar, line that fucker up, see where we're at on our fucking gap then. Okay, here we are on the bottom once again. I still see that there's a big gap right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and repeat my process, and I'm going to be using this bolt for a washer like we did before, and hopefully that will fix our problem. I don't know why the fuck it's like this, to be honest with you. I really don't, but whatever works, works at this point. Okay, there's that one. And of course this one's got to go in, like that. Well, it's not going in, so, fuck, there it is. Okay, now, if we can take our fender, get it where we want it, right there. Oh, you fucker. Get our fender gap where we want it. Just like that. Then go ahead and start tightening these up. And I can't see the top of the fender gap, but we're going to start with this right here. So if we look right here, we can see we got a nice gap here. Then it gets a little tight, just like our other fender did. And then it gets to a big gap down here. So that's telling me that I got to push this this fender in toward the door more. And we also got a situation where the fender's actually sticking out right here. So let's go ahead and do that bottom one more time. Then we're going to adjust the top. And we're going to keep playing with that until we get that thing set on there like it's supposed to be. So you see there's a lot of Mickey Mouse going on here and a lot of situations that says it's a big fucking job. Let me go ahead and get this fender on here. Let me get it molded and set where I need it to be. We're going to come back and we're even going to go ahead and put the hood on. I want this car complete. I want to see what the fuck's going on with it. I don't want any surprises. I want to fit everything on here. I've been fitting panels on this now for 2 months. That's all I've been doing. I put the doors on first. I came back. I've been dicking with these fenders for about 2 or 3 weeks. I just want to get this shit all fit on here right. Once that's done, then we go to the next step. I'll be back. We got the fender on. We got our buddy VW John here. He's going to help us put that hood up on the car, and hopefully everything's going to line up. Grab that hood. Okay. Now, look what we're going to do. I'm going to walk on that side. I'm going to lean up, over, up. Okay. Okay. Now, slide it on down. Down. There you go. Now. You can hold it in the middle there. Come on, grab it. There you go. Just hold it up in the middle. Okay, now grab it right here, and then I'll move it around. You just balance it.
Yeah, I just need something to stand on.
You need something to stand on?
Right there. Go ahead.
Okay, you got it? All right. Okay, hold it right there. You got to get these 2 top bolts in, and once those are in, then we can get the bottom ones. Okay? Hold it right there. Okay, now, let me have that. Okay, now we gotta let this down. Now put it up right here. Pull up on that. There you go, pull up on it. Okay, let go. Okay. All right, we got the hood almost bolted on. Let's finish it out. So now we got the hood on there. Take that out. All right, let go. Let's see.
You got that plastic thing back there.
Okay, that's enough. Let's keep the bullshit over the floor bottle. Okay, we got the hood on. We're going to go ahead and shut the hood. Let's see what happens. We're going to have to do some minor adjustment on it, but we got it on there. That's what counts. Okay, let me see. Okay, the hinges are fucked. So, how's it look there? Hitting this hood over here, so the hood's got to go this way. It's barely hitting right here. I think if we adjust it this way, I think it's going to look all right. Now, the hood's got to go that way. Let me see. Right there, just like that. Hold on. There's not much adjustment on this. Now let's let it down and see what happens. I think everything's going to work out, dude. It's a little tight over here. Now it's cockeyed this way. See over here? That's what we got. We got a big fucking gap here, so how's that looking? Alright. Okay, it looks like everything's going good. Let me get this all adjusted. You see the situation here? And we'll be back after we get it all adjusted. And hopefully it's all going to fit. What a fucking joke. Real fucking joke. So we've come to the conclusion that I'm gonna have to take these fenders back. The fenders are not fitting. They're beyond repair and are wrecked too much. So this is what happens. This is the situation when you're taking on jobs and you're doing body work, or you're doing this or that or the other, and problems arise. I'm going to have to put the car out in the back. We're going to have to put a cover on it until further notice, because I have worked on just the fenders, and this is chasing the fenders down, going out and getting the fenders, fitting fenders on the car, getting the hood set on it, trying to get shit lined up, lining the doors up. A month. It's been a fucking month. We got a whole month just in fucking around. And we're not talking off and on. We're talking basically a month. Almost every fucking day dicking around with this shit. So I'm going to have to search and seizure some real good fenders, and I can't buy them without looking at them. I'm going to have to go out and look for them. I'm going to have to go out and search for them. I'm going to have to find these fucking fenders until I find the right fenders. It's just a real letdown when this shit happens. You get into the situation that it's a domino effect. It starts here, then it goes over to the door, then it comes over to the hinge, then it starts affecting the hood, and then we got the core support down here. These front ends are so fucking picky to put together that, I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. If we look right here, we got a real nice gap. Almost nice, I would say. It's not that bad. It's usable. But when we get up here, look how big that fucking gap is. And that is caused because of this right here. There's a dent right here. I'm gonna get the, I don't even know, can you see that? It's pretty fucking bad. And what has happened is it got hit right here, pushed the fender down. You see what I'm saying? Down, and it rolled the fender this way. And it gave us this big gap. If it wasn't for that, this fender would be actually a really nice fender to use. And then you got this fender here, and I mean, it already starts out right here where you got a pretty good gap here, but then all of a sudden it gets wide here. And that is because if you look at the fender sticking out, now I can go ahead and fix that, push it in, and be done with it, and that's all straight and ready to go. But what has happened, it's made this edge curl over, and it's made it roll like this, which gives us this triangular looking gap. You can see how it kind of looks like a triangle there. See how it's like bigger here, and then it goes bam, bam. But then you come up here, and this gap's looking really nice all the way up. But then if you look right here, this is messed up right here. And we're going to roll it around here, and now you can see the situation here. This is higher than the hood. See what I'm saying? You can see that. I'm not even really pissed off anymore. I'm in the state of depression on it. I'm in the state of, you know, when. That's the state of mind I'm in, is when. When. got our Oldsmobile on the ground. Our 72 Oldsmobile Cutless is now on the ground. And I want everybody to take a good look at this picture right here. Alright, you see what we're looking at? I manipulated my way to use the fenders that came with the car because these fenders were so wrecked up. It was so crushed up right here, and then over there's a hump, and I'm going to show you the situation we have when you see this. But I went ahead and manipulated my way around to using these fenders, and the gaps came out pretty good. It took a week and a half of dicking around with them off and on to get them this good. Don't look at that gap like it's perfect, because I'm going to tell you we still need to do body work to the fender. This one actually came out really nice. I'm really surprised. But the problem we fucking have is that we got some serious damage on this fender. Now, there's a dent right in here. It's rippled or something. That's why I went ahead and marked that. And then up here, this is all rippled. You can't see it, but it's like a, yeah, that. And then in this area right here, and I'm going to show you that in a minute, it has a hump like this. And then if we come over to this side, this fender actually fits pretty good. It doesn't fit as good as the driver's side, but the gap looks pretty even. And once again, you can't really tell, but this door skin, when it was put on the car, was put on half-ass. And I had to do body work all the way around the edges of the door. Well, over here on this side, there's like a dip right here inside the door. Now, that is not from me trying to use the sledgehammer or the slide hammer. What that's from is when they put that door skin on, they didn't install it properly, and I didn't finish the body work on it, fortunately or unfortunately. We also have damage in the fender right here. Alright, that's a damaged fender situation. But we got the fenders to fit, and I got the battery charger on it. I had to go buy some tires. Those cost me $75, and that's how life is. You got to get what you got to get. But I had to get some tires. I was sick and tired of airing tires up every time I turned around. So we got that taken care of. But I want to show you something, and this is a very, very crucial situation on this car, because every time we turn around, we're finding something wrong on this car. Now, I'm going to go ahead and take that battery charger. I'm going to stick it inside the car over here because we need to charge that battery up. And I'll be honest with you, the battery isn't charging, so I'm going to have to buy a fucking battery. Now, when the car came over here, it had a battery in it, and it basically did the same thing this is doing. It wouldn't charge. So, yeah, I'm going to probably end up going and buying some fucking battery for it just so we can get this thing where we can move it around. But I want to show you a situation on this car that I found. And after we checked it out and we looked at it and this, that, and the other with different opinions and different eyeballs looking at it, we have came to the conclusion that this car was in a major wreck, front-end collision wreck. And to get the damage that I'm going to show you on this, it had to be a very, very hard-hit collision job to accomplish that kind of damage. So I want you to look down that frame rail right there. And I want you to see how nice and straight it is. And you can see this is the right-hand frame rail. And I want you to look in that very back far corner right there where the flashlight's kind of making a line. And you can see that it's nice and smooth and flat. And now I want you to look at this frame rail. And you can see that it is kind of at an angle facing to the, I guess, your left or my right, whatever. The top is facing in, the bottom's facing out. And then I want you to pay close attention to how ripply this is right here where the bumper bolts onto it. You can basically see that. Now, if you look inside there, and I'm going to have to climb up in there to show you this, but if you look right here on the frame, you can see where the frame's crushed in. And you can also see underneath there where the spring goes in the car where it's got a crease. So you can see that this car was wrecked very, very hard at one time. I would say that this car was probably totaled out, and they tried to fix it. They got it all together, and then they sold the fucking thing. because that takes a very, very hard major hit to fuck the frame of this car up that bad. And then of course over here on the very front of the frame horn where the core support bolts to it, it's pretty fucked up in this area too. Now another thing that we noticed is these fenders. These fenders are Oldsmobile fenders that go to this car, but I believe that they're aftermarket fenders. Now, I think that the aftermarket fenders were purchased when the car got in an accident, and I'm going to speculate and guess that this hood is probably an aftermarket hood as well. Because if you look at this fender over here, you're going to see on the very bottom that there's been rust repair done to that fender. And I'm sorry, I actually meant on the right-hand fender. I'm going to show you down here what we're talking about. You might not be able to see it, but I'm going to go ahead and point it out. If you look right here where my finger is, you can see there's a little bit of a bubble action going on right there. And then over here, you can see that there's some bubble action going on there. Like I said, I don't know if you can see that, but it is there and evident that that piece on the bottom section here was replaced. And then, if you look inside the fender, which we're not going to take those fenders off to do that, you'll see where the lower section of the fender was replaced. And then by looking at the bottom of the front fender, you can see that it's a solid piece of metal versus the factory fender that has the hole cut out for the marker light. So I believe that these are aftermarket fenders and the hood is aftermarket, but they weren't purchased anytime recently. I'm thinking that these were replaced when this car got in a very major collision, and then they painted the car or whatever they did to it and then turn around and sold it. Now, did the owner of this car know that it was wrecked? Probably not. It probably wasn't. He probably didn't know shit about it, and nobody else probably knew anything about it until I, myself, and Nitpick Norm started investigating the situation, telling each other something is wrong with this car. I'm also going to calculate and make a suggestion that this core support may be possibly an aftermarket core support as well. So we're talking major collision repair here. We're talking aftermarket body parts. And we're talking that it's very hard to fit all this shit together. Now, when I put the factory fenders on it, they fit really, really well. I was very happy with the gaps, the way that the body lines all came around and lined up. Everything was awesome, except the fenders are junk. There's way too much damage to those fenders to use them. Let's close this hood, let's see what it all looks like, and we're going to go further into the subject that this car was totaled out at one time. So if I close the hood, you can see that it looks pretty good. Everything looks great, but there's one situation that we have on that side of the car. I want you to pay close attention to the gap on the hood as it's hanging off of the fender. Do you see that? That's because when you add this chrome back to the fender, that chrome sticks out and then it's a flush mount situation here. I want you also to look at that fender and see how it looks nice and square and flat. And then I want you to look at this fender and you can see how it sits on here. You can see that this fender is hanging that way. It's like twisted. It's given a very oddball gap right in the front. And as we turn the corner here, you can see that that gap, the fender, it does not line up properly with the hood when the chrome will be installed. Another thing I want you to look at, you can see how the hood is nice and flush, but the farther we get down, you can see that it sticks up right here. You can see that. You see what I'm saying right there? That's because this fender has a hump in it right here. Alright, I don't know how that fucking happened, but there's a hump in the fender. So everywhere looks good except for right here on this fucking line, and it just looks like shit. I want you also to look at this fender, and I don't know what the fuck it is with these things, but look how that fender sticks out versus this side here. Do you see the difference? Let me show you that again. We're going to put this car on hold. We got another car that we got to get on. When we come back on this car, we're going to be finalizing the bodywork up and hopefully getting this thing ready for paint. We'll see you later, my friend Pete, your friend Pete. I got to get a hold of the owner. I got to inform him about his fucking wreck over here and let him know what the situation is. So you better let me go so I can let him know that we got a lot more work ahead of us as we go. Take it easy.